Welcome to The Explainer, where we turn research into real understanding.
So, have you ever had someone just vanish from your life? No explanation, no goodbye, just gone? Yeah, today we're cracking open the case file on that modern dating mystery we call ghosting. It's that confusing moment when the texts just stop. But what's really going on behind that wall of silence? Well, there's a whole lot of psychology to unpack, and that's exactly what we're going to do.
All right, here's the game plan. First, we're going to look at the anatomy of social pain. Why this hurts so bad. Then we'll get inside the ghoster's head, looking at their psychology. After that, we'll figure out their motives. Is it destiny or something else? And finally, we'll wrap it all up with a practical playbook for communicating better.
Okay, let's get right into it. Part 1. The anatomy of social pain. Why does getting ghosted hurt so much? Before we start pointing fingers, we need to understand the evidence. And the evidence is the pain itself. And I'm not just talking about hurt feelings. This is something much, much deeper.
So first things first, what are we even talking about when we say ghosting? I mean, we all kind of know it, right? But here's the official take. It's when someone just unilaterally cuts off all communication. They just stop everything and ignore you. It's really just a high-tech version of an age-old move, avoidance, the silent treatment. And technology has made it so easy, right? It's just a tap, a swipe, a block. But the impact of that simple action? Oh, it's anything but simple.
And this is where it gets absolutely wild. We've got hard evidence from neuroscience. So, you know that feeling when you stub your toe? That physical pain? Well, your brain registers that in a specific spot, the anterior cingulate cortex. And get this, when you get ghosted, when you feel that social pain of being ignored, the exact same part of your brain lights up. That feeling of being hurt by someone's words or lack of them, it isn't just a metaphor. Your brain is literally experiencing it as pain.
And why does it hurt so much? Well, psychologists have found that this kind of social injury, they call it ostracism, it's like a direct assault on 4 of our most basic human needs. Think about it. It hits our need to belong, it crushes our self-esteem, it completely takes away our sense of control, and it can even make us question our place in the world, our meaningful existence. It's like a 4-pronged attack that just leaves you spinning.
Yeah, and this quote from social psychologist Kipling Williams really nails it. Ostracism, the silent treatment, is such a powerful form of social punishment precisely because it's deniable. The ghoster can always say, "Oh, I was just busy," or "I forgot to reply." But as Williams points out, they might not even realize the actual harm they're causing. That silence isn't harmless. It's a weapon.
Okay, so we know it hurts, a lot. Now for part 2. Let's go inside the ghoster's mind. We're going to start building a psychological profile. What's going on with the person who actually does the disappearing?
Okay, one of the biggest clues we have comes from something called attachment theory. The basic idea is that how we connected with our parents or caregivers when we were kids creates a kind of internal map for all our future relationships. This map generally falls on 2 scales. There's anxiety, that's the fear of being abandoned, that constant worry about the relationship, and then there's avoidance. That's more of a discomfort with closeness, a need to keep people at a distance.
Now, here's where it connects directly to ghosting. Researchers have found this pattern over and over again. People who score higher on that attachment anxiety scale, they are way more likely to be the ones who get ghosted. And the people who score higher on attachment avoidance, the ones who are uncomfortable with intimacy, you guessed it. They're much more likely to be the ones doing the ghosting. It makes perfect sense, right?
But, attachment style isn't the whole picture, not by a long shot. There's another, even more powerful predictor that researchers look at. It's called the dark triad. Sounds traumatic, right? It's basically a trio of pretty nasty personality traits. You've got narcissism, that's the grandiosity, the lack of empathy. Then there's Machiavellianism, the manipulative, self-interested side. And finally, psychopathy, which is all about impulsivity and a real lack of remorse.
And get a load of this number. One huge study found that if you take those dark triad traits and you combine them with someone's attachment style, you can explain 79% of why people ghost. 79%! In psychology, that is a massive, massive number. It tells you these traits aren't just a minor influence. They are a huge, blinking neon sign pointing to who is likely to ghost.
And if we look at which one matters more, the data is crystal clear. Attachment style? Yeah, it's a piece of the puzzle for sure. It explains about 1/3 of the behavior. But look at the dark triad traits. That chunk is way bigger, accounting for almost half of it. So when we're trying to figure out what predicts ghosting, these dark triad traits are, without a doubt, the single biggest factor.
All right, so now we have a profile of the ghoster's personality. But what's the motive? For that, we need to dig into their mindset. It's not just about who they are, but about how they think relationships are supposed to work. This brings us to our third section, destiny versus growth.
Okay, so there are two basic camps here. On one side, you have people with destiny beliefs. These are the soulmate people. They believe a relationship is either meant to be or it's not. And if it's not, well then ghosting seems like a totally reasonable option. Why waste time on a tough conversation? On the other side, you have people with growth beliefs. These are the work it out people. They believe relationships take effort and can be improved. And guess what? They are way less likely to just disappear.
But here's where it gets a little more complicated. It's not always about having dark triad traits or a destiny mindset. Sometimes, believe it or not, the motive isn't malicious at all. As this quote points out, some people ghost because they think they're being nice. They think a slow fade is kinder than a direct rejection. What they don't get, what they completely miss, is that for most people, being ignored is 1,000 times worse. It's that awful uncertainty. It's a classic case of the solution being way more painful than the problem they were trying to avoid.
So, we've looked at the pain, the personality, and the mindset. Now what? Well, let's close out this investigation by putting it all together. Let's build a playbook for better communication. How do we actually fix this?
And look, if you take away only one thing from all this research, let it be this. Being direct might sting for a second, but silence, that leaves an open wound. The uncertainty, the self-doubt, that's what does the real damage. A moment of honesty gives someone closure. Silence just leaves them guessing forever. The truly kind thing, the brave thing, is to be clear. So, if you're ever on the verge of ghosting someone, here's a simple 4-step plan to do it right. Number 1, be respectful. Just acknowledge the person and the connection you had. 2, be clear and kind. You don't have to be brutal, just state that you don't see a future. 3, keep it short. This is not the time for a long speech or a list of their flaws. And 4, be final. Wish them well and then close the door. It might be awkward for, 30 seconds, but it's so much more compassionate in the long run.
Okay, and what if you're the one who's been ghosted? What can you do? First, just acknowledge the pain. It's real. Remember that brain scan? This is a legitimate social injury, so let yourself feel it. Then, go on the offense and rebuild those 4 needs we talked about. Reconnect with your friends, that's belonging. Focus on your strengths, that builds up your self-esteem. Make a new plan, any plan, that gives you back a sense of control. And most importantly, do not blame yourself. Their decision to vanish is a reflection of their issues, their communication skills, their baggage. It is not a measure of your worth. Period.
And that really brings us to the big picture question, doesn't it? We live in this age of digital distance where it's just so easy to disconnect, to just disappear. So the real challenge for all of us is, how do we build a culture that values clear, kind communication over the easy way out? How do we choose compassion over convenience?